Awesome. Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you for coming on the webinar this morning. We've got quite a few people kind of already in the session, so I think we'll probably just get going, and we've got a fair amount to talk about today, and obviously we're really pleased to have Narinder join us from the recruitment group. So before we get going, what I thought might be a really good use of time is just very brief introductions to ourselves, the team, and a little bit of housekeeping, and then we'll start to have a little bit of discussion. So I suppose before me and Guy go, Narinder, do you want to just introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Welcome, everybody. My name is Narinder Uppal. I'm the finance director for the recruitment group. I've now been with the recruitment group for coming up to 20 months, I believe it is. And it's been an amazing journey so far. Consistently will be an amazing journey, I believe. And yeah, I'm here today to share my experiences on how iplicit has benefited us as a business.
Brilliant. Thank you,
Excellent.
Narinder. Guy.
Hi everyone, I'm Guy. I'm one of the solution consultants here at iplicit, and I'm going to be showing you a little bit of software towards the end of the presentation today.
Brilliant, perfect. And yes, so my name's Tim. I'm one of the business development managers here at iplicit, and I've spent the best part of, well, most of my career really working with high growth organizations, particularly in the software and technology space, but right across multiple different sectors. So really used to working with companies that kind of experience those pains of growth and scale that we're going to talk about today. So before we get going, because I know sometimes GoToMeeting is a new platform for people. So hopefully on the right hand side, but you can move it around, there's a little box that looks something like this on your screen. As we're going through, please feel free to put any questions you've got into the question tab. There's also a chat facility as well. So you have the ability to kind of communicate with us, and we'll answer any questions. We've got some time for a Q&A at the end, so we'll answer any questions at the end there, but just as you've got them, put them in that chat. And what we always like to do at the start of these sessions is a little bit of an icebreaker question. So whether it's in the questions or chat facility within that kind of block, we thought it'd be really good to understand currently how many days or maybe hours does it currently take you to produce your management accounts at month end. So if you put your answers into that questions or chat facility, that'd be really, really good to see.
I'll keep an eye on that as we go through and report back.
Brilliant, brilliant.
It's going to be really interesting, that is.
It will be. Well, we thought so anyway.
Yeah.
So what we wanted to talk about today was essentially the challenge that we see within the companies we work with, and obviously as a wider remit as well. The challenge we see that companies face when they're going through high periods of growth, as they're scaling, as they're going from small to medium to large size companies. And so where we wanted to start that journey was really with what we typically see as the current situation. So as I'm sure many of the people on the webinar today will be experiencing, that you're maybe using something like Xero, QuickBooks, maybe an older system like Sage 50 or Microsoft Navision, something like that. And typically the challenge that this kind of poses to the team is that you end up with a lot of manual data entry. If you've got multiple entities, you have multiple instances of various different bits of software, and that leads to a lot of kind of manual reporting tasks, and ultimately you end up with a complete lack of flexibility around what you can achieve as a team. You have a huge time drain on what you can do, and also you have a complete lack of real-time analysis. And what that means for organizations is obviously, as you start from a small company, you have a fairly steady and hopefully high rate of growth as you go along the line. But due to the restrictions of those sorts of software, where, as we said, lack of real-time data, lack of flexibility, you end up with a situation where that growth starts to slow. And you may even have gaps in growth where maybe you fail to identify an opportunity, or maybe you can identify that opportunity but you can't react to it. There are loads of examples. That might be you start to see some churn in a particular customer segment, but you don't identify that till it's too late, and that's already had an impact on your bottom line, for example. And what we kind of term this as an organization, and what we talk about with our customers, is the idea of a responsiveness gap, i.e. that time that elapses between a problem arising and you having the ability to react to that as an organization. And obviously closing that gap is obviously going to help you optimize your growth. And what we typically see is there's a number of ways to solve that. You've obviously got the more traditional way from a finance team perspective. You've got the more traditional way of something like a classic ERP solution, which is offers an organization a huge breadth of functionality, but is obviously quite traditional. It's generally a slightly older technology. It comes with it a lot of costs, both from an implementation and ongoing license perspective. Implementations can take a long time, a huge amount of business disruption, and also a lot of change management, especially as in a growing organization where things change so rapidly. And they're obviously also pretty complicated bits of kit. Anecdotally, my background is very much from that traditional ERP space, and sometimes you feel like you need a kind of degree in technology to be able to just make the system work for you. And so what we believe is that for companies that are going through that kind of journey of growth and scale, that iplicit is a really good option, because it still offers that same level of power that you'd expect from those traditional ERP systems, that same level of reporting capability, but in a much more intuitive platform on a much more newer piece of technology, essentially, making it far more simple to use, simple to set up, simple to maintain on an ongoing basis as your business changes, and also makes it far more affordable for our customers. So a shorter implementation means less cost, but also from an ongoing basis, we ensure that it's much more scalable with an organization that's going through that growth. And so it means that our customers can kind of invest in technology that's going to help them grow much earlier in their journey. So rather than having to wait till they've got a huge amount of cash from external investment or however that cash comes in, they can invest far earlier and obviously gain the benefits far earlier as well. And so what that does is it takes that responsiveness gap and allows our customers to close it, and not only close it, but also grow faster, because they can identify those opportunities earlier and they can react to them and make the most of those opportunities, and therefore gain first mover advantage. So maybe there's a change in the way people are pricing your particular product. You can pivot and gain the benefit of that pricing, which obviously gains your customers benefit as well, and it's a win-win for everybody. I mentioned earlier examples such as customer churn. Obviously, if you've got real-time data, you're able to identify those threats way earlier and react to them in a timely manner. And ultimately, all that means that you can grow far faster. And so what we tried to identify was, when you're thinking about what you would need from a new finance system for a high growth business, for us, it's kind of essentially 5 things that we've identified. So firstly, the ability to automate and use workflow functionality to remove as much of the manual work as you possibly can do from within your kind of team, so that you can focus on those analytical tasks that add the value back to the organization. Secondly, it's making sure that technology is scalable. You don't want to have to change again in a few years' time. You want to make sure that as you grow as a business, whether that's as a group structure or whether that's transactional volume, the platform should be able to handle that growth. And also have APIs so that you can easily integrate that system into all your other bits of technology across the business and gain that full visibility. And I know Narinder's going to talk a bit about that in a little bit. Also make sure it's a fully unified platform. So for some of the people on the call, maybe you're using something like Sage 50, you've got multiple different instances, or maybe using Xero and you've got multiple different versions of Xero in all your different legal entities. Making sure that that's one single unified platform that's going to consolidate in real time. It's going to make sure that you've got one central chart of accounts, one central supplier, customer ledger, all of that sort of stuff makes so much difference for a group company. Make sure that you have no kind of restrictions on your ability to report as an organization, making sure that you can gain that visibility in the metrics that really matter to you. And finally, making sure that you're fully ready to be international. For so many high growth businesses, being international is kind of part of that journey, whether it's going into the US market or whether it's going to Europe or Asia. So you want to make sure that any software you use is not just going to be good for now, but it's going to be good as you take that journey as well. So hopefully that kind of resonated with the people on the call as kind of the current state of play and some ways to think about solving that. But obviously, what we wanted to do is now introduce Narinder, and Narinder can talk a little bit about his experience of the challenges he's faced as the recruitment group and how they've gone about solving it. So I suppose over to you, Narinder.
Thanks, Tim. So yeah, guys, in terms of the recruitment group themselves, just to give you guys a little bit of history. The recruitment group are an acquisitive business who have acquired businesses over the past from previous owners, whether they're private equity backed or privately owned businesses themselves, to looking onto gathering these businesses all together and making one brand, which is the recruitment group. As you can imagine, when you acquire businesses, not only are you acquiring the names of the businesses and also their operations, but you're also gathering their financial status as well in terms of their chart of accounts, the way that they do accruals, prepayments, and understanding how they function, their finance functions in the way that we would want function our functions as well. And ultimately, we offer a perm and temp solution across all of our multiple sectors and locations. One of the struggles that we had, as you can imagine, as a business was reporting MI and providing that further detail to operations as an example. So if we look at our business, we've got several acquisitions, several companies, several chart of accounts. And what we were always struggling with was to get those consolidated, because ultimately, temporary sales in one environment could be branded as temp sales, another it could be branded as sales in another. And ultimately, what that caused our accountants was investing a lot of time into doing the manipulation of data as opposed to really understanding the data and understanding what those numbers actually mean. So ultimately, we decided that we wanted to look for a new product, and we came across iplicit. And one of the things that mainly attracted us to iplicit was A, being on the cloud, B, the integration with Excel, which for us was an absolute huge step into the right direction. And I'll come on to that slowly in a second, but also to have it all onto one platform. Several companies under one platform, meaning that you don't need to have several windows open for several different companies. You could see all your customers in one location, or your suppliers, and even all your accounts all under one chart of accounts umbrella. Ultimately, the reporting side of things, again, it's quite critical to us because we have, as you can imagine, various stakeholders in the business, stakeholders who love to see MI, and that could be external or internal stakeholders. And one of the things that I've struggled with in the past, especially from my career, is bringing that data together, but bringing it in a timely fashion. Because as you can imagine, the last thing you want to do in any business is to provide your data in a very long-winded way. What iplicit allows you to do is it allows you to use the functionality of Excel or use the inbuilt reports, and it helps you to generate your own reports for your own specific stakeholders. As an example, one of our operations director or our managing director may want to see for a certain department, cost center or division, which what we work as, and see the profitability for that department, enabling us to make those influential decisions on whether we want to invest into those more further, or whether we want to actually, if it's a loss-leading product, want to stop that and reinvest that money into somewhere which is more profitable. Another thing as well, which helps us massively, is workflows. So as a business, our fundamental stakeholder is a funder, and we use a funding provider on an invoicing discounting scheme. As part of our obligation to that funder, we ensure that all of our invoices and all of our credit notes are uploaded in a timely fashion. With our payroll department creating our invoices for us, sometimes what would happen in instances is an invoice would be uploaded onto a product like Sage, for instance, submitted, but never then uploaded from the accountants onto our funder's platform. With the workflows, what we can do in this instance is we can allow the payroll consultants to get to a certain stage where they can generate the invoices, create the invoices, which then go out to the clients, but not yet submit them until we are comfortable that they've all gone into our funding platforms. Workflows help massively because it helps us to reduce time spent on looking for where variances are, but it also helps us from a perspective of control as well. The integration of systems is also another critical thing. We are a business that love cloud software, and ultimately for us, it's because A, servers are very expensive, but also servers also can at any given time fall down, break over, unless you've got backups of servers in every location. Having the cloud system in itself and in integration with other systems means that we can use pay and bill products, CRM systems, all along with iplicit, and this is through APIs. To give an instance of what an API is, ultimately it is kind of a code that's written in the background to allow two different softwares to talk to one another. What we found previously before is that with another vendor in previous times, we've seen that the only time they would talk to products is if it's their own product. The beauty with iplicit is the API is open for everybody. That means that if you've got a software with another vendor that is not iplicit, it will happily work with them as long as you use it through the API. In terms of time savings, One of the things, and apologies if my audit team is on this, but one of the things that accountants hate is this time spent with auditors. Auditors are great because they look into everything for you, but one of the things that is always sort of the daunting thing for any accountant is finding invoices, finding backup to invoices, finding data. The beauty with iplicit and the way that we use it at the recruitment group, again, with our invoicing, is we attach all of our timesheets to the back end of the invoices, and we can send it directly through iplicit as a mass send, meaning that we've always got a copy of it, we've always got an audit trail of it, and we've also got all the timesheets stored in one location. I mean, back in previous businesses, we have lost data because it's not been on the cloud, or it's been on servers or etc. With iplicit, it's all safe, it's all in hand, and you can always access it at any given point. The also beauty thing as well is you can create a read-only license for your auditors, meaning that they can only go into the product, view exactly what they want at any given time they want, and ultimately not having to bother your accountants. And the final thing for me is the full visibility across the whole organization. As you can imagine, having multi-cost centers, multi-divisions, the one thing that we want to be able to see is how profitable each of those divisions, cost centers, departments there are, but also how profitable it is over a year. The full visibility on one platform allows us to see all of that from different aspects, such as each individual nominal code, or aspects such as, again, departments and divisions, even for certain times in the year. As you can imagine, with recruitment, we're very, very busy between our peak period, which is sort of the September to December time, which is Black Friday and Christmas. What this allows us to see is fusing the multifunctional reporting allows us to see that for any legal entity, any department, cost center, through any period or any year, you can generate reports directly out of the system, allowing you for that. As you can imagine, drawing up reports from any of the normal platform can take a long while unless you've got a stable way of doing so. But through iplicit, you can create bespoke your own reports, create it either in iplicit or in Excel, create graphs that follow off of that, and also create what we all want, which is MI packs that can be given to operations, that can be given to financial and non-financial people, and being as detailed as you want it to be.
I suppose just to close that off, Narinder, in terms of the sort of success that you've seen inside the organization and the benefit that's come not only to your team, but also to the wider organization, how's that kind of fed through?
Yeah, sure. So in terms of consolidation, which is the main thing, and reporting and MI, again, because we had a system and a multi-chart of accounts and a big difference in chart of accounts, sorry, it took us a long time to do consolidation. And just to touch on your question at the start, how long did it take us to do month end? At one point, it took us circa 90 days. With the use of iplicit, we are now nearing the 30-day mark. And that is just due to the amount of time saved from intercompany recs, because in the previous software, one side would be posted, but the other side wouldn't be, and it take a long time to investigate that. Ultimately, in terms of creating the actual MI report, would take a long while because we'd have to export trial balances, bring them into a into a template, and then build that into a P&L. And if something was wrong, or I would say, can we accrue something, the accountants would have to do that all over again. But with the use of iplicit, if I ask them to do a change, it literally is update my reports that I've built in either Excel or built into iplicit. So it saves us a mammoth of time.
Yeah, we would, for background for the audience, we were talking about this yesterday, and some of the stories you were telling us of some of the time saves you've seen, especially from that Excel add-in piece as well, to be able to share those reports across the organization in a platform they can kind of consume easily. Sounds like it's made a real difference to yourselves. So it's really good to hear. So I suppose at this point, we wanted to show you a little bit of that in real life and show you how that kind of replicates into the platform. So I suppose at this point, Guy, I should hand it over to yourself and let you take it from there.
Thank you. I'm just going to show my screen, and hopefully the right screen. Is that coming through?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Perfect. So this is just be a whistle-stop tour about iplicit, and hopefully to demonstrate and support what Narinder's ran through and how we can use sort of iplicit's clever technology to turn the accounting function into something that can help fuel the growth of an organisation, rather than being the necessary evil that it might have been in the past. So we are a single system. We are, as Narinder mentioned, multiple legal entities, multiple currencies, and multiple users as well. So we're a system not just for the finance team, but for the wider organization as well. So we can present information in graphical representations if they want to. We can, I'll show you later on how we can send this same sort of information in an Excel spreadsheet as well. So we love a bit of Excel, but we want to use Excel cleverly and to our advantage. And different users of the system, so there's nothing to install. I access iplicit through a browser, and whether or not I need to look at management information, I need to look at KPIs for my bit of the organization. Oh, that's a good example. I didn't refresh my screen. And best laid plans. That is using our security function that just logged me out. So that was supposed to happen. Then I can get to the information, and the fact that we can automate things, so we can use our APIs to pull information from your disparate business systems. That means there's no rekeying of information. It means that information's live. And because of the way that we've organized iplicit's nominal structure, so we have unlimited analysis codes, it means I can trap all of the relevant analysis in the finance system. We think the data in the finance system is the most important thing, and being able to analyze that data without having to resort to dumping it into a spreadsheet using a business intelligence tool. We want people to be able to get to that information live and on demand. And that extends out to not just the budget holders, not just your department heads, but it also extends out to our management accounts. Our management accounts, because we've got a general ledger that sits across the entire organization, iplicit allows us to grow as an organization. So if, like the resource group, if you've grown by acquisition, it takes me about a minute to set up a new organization in iplicit. Against all of our companies, we've got the ability to hold different tax jurisdictions. If you've got overseas operations, we've got the ability to hold multiple tax registrations. We've got the ability to work with multiple company currencies because we've got live currency feeds, foreign exchange gains and losses automation. And we've got the ability to do that intercompany trading. So you've got control in terms of what entities within the group can trade with each other and what can they trade. And the bit about us being able to create that automation means that if I've got an intercompany transaction, I'll just quickly show you one of these. There's an automation center that sits across the entirety of iplicit. So I might be doing an intercompany sale to purchase. I might be doing an intercompany journal, might be doing a payment across multiple entities, because we've got integration across multiple companies built within iplicit across its entirety. As that goes through, iplicit will create the transaction in company A, and at the same time, maybe if I'm not too impatient, at the same time, it's created me the sales invoice in one company and automatically posted the purchase invoice in another company. That's going to go into my accounts. In my accounts, I've got live information going through, and I can view my accounts in a number of different ways. Might want to view that by period. I might want to review that by multiple different years. We might want to put a bit of budgeting in there. All of that information is provided live to your stakeholders, and you might have different stakeholders. So as an organization, we need to support our department heads as much as we need to support our board, our investors, and even individual clients. And the ability within iplicit to change our chart of accounts. So I might want to, for our US company, our US subsidiary, produce everything in GAAP format. I might need to produce our management accounts for our department heads in a different format that excludes bits of the nominal ledger to them. I might want to do for that new French subsidiary that we've got. If I remember where have I put my French set of accounts, there it is. I might want to split. I might want a set of accounts in a completely different language. All of this information is live, and it also means that those stakeholders, the rest of the organization, can get to that information as long as they've got a web browser. We have a mobile app as well that's free with iplicit, so I can get to this information from a mobile app. I've got the ability to drill down into those transactions, see invoices that are attached to documents, see how that's gone through iplicit's different workflows. And with the ability for me to take any of those data, and from an organization or from a consolidation point of view, all of my information is in one place. I've got a live view of our consolidations, and because of iplicit's automation, because we've got iplicit understands all of your elimination accounts and all of your elimination transactions, it also means that if I wanted to see my accounts without my eliminations, I don't have to do anything complex. I just tell iplicit to remove those eliminations for me in any report across the whole organization. It also means as an organization, we might have central suppliers. I've got aged debtors and creditors by supplier, but I've also got aged debtors and creditors by the different legal entities that I've got. So I've got consolidation. I've got consolidation around my accounts receivable. You've got multiple clients that might be being serviced by your different entities within the group. And I can see a consolidated view of that. I've got one aged creditors team. I've got one credit control team on credit control automation to send out reminders across the organization as well. So having to then be able to choose how I want to slice and dice that data is also important to us. So we took an idea that we stole from a bloke at Microsoft called Dave, who, if I just reset this, which was a pivot table. So we want to give you the power of a pivot table in a browser in your finance system. So based on our unlimited analysis levels that we've got against our chart of accounts or your chart of accounts, if I wanted to bring in a bit of cost center information in here, and I wanted to maybe bring in countries or departments or whatever, these would be all of your different analysis levels. So just bring that in. That means iplicit basically puts your accounts, because of the analysis that we've got, into those different formats. It's into those different pivots basically. So I can then go and drill into that information. I've got that information. We can budget and forecast at any of these levels, and it all rolls up to the top of your chart of accounts across the group. I could decide, actually, I only want to see information for this company, and this company. You've got that flexibility, and we have, because the system is going to be used across the organization, we also have security from both the permissions point of view and also from a data point of view. So we only expose data to the right people at the right point in time, regardless of the hierarchy they are within your organization. I might have access to 2 of these companies, 3 of these departments, this bit of the nominal ledger, all is provided, and we want you to be self-sufficient on that. All of these inquiry screens can be put into Excel, and talking of Excel, any bit of data in iplicit can be shared with Excel or downloaded to Excel, but lots of our customers love Excel, and I don't need to put them on great courses, extensive courses to learn how to operate a spreadsheet usually. So we've built buttons or add-ins basically, which allow me from Excel to log into iplicit. What Excel then can do is Excel can go and deliver and get any of that iplicit data, and instead of downloading the data, it's then providing a link between these spreadsheets and the finance system in the cloud. And this will be working on any version of Excel. So if I wanted to go and see some consolidated information, if I wanted to go and see my cash flow, if I wanted to go and see, grab that one, these might all be up in SharePoint. So I bring that information over, if you can see that. So I might want to get a live cash flow report out of our finance system. I might be a department head and want live, up-to-date information in a spreadsheet. There's a format that's important to me. It's not a great change maybe from what we were doing before, but the data in the spreadsheet is now linked live from Excel, wherever I am, through to the finance system. So live, up-to-date information, and with the ability to drill down into information if I needed to. So I can go and get transactional data. I just opened up on a different screen, and I'll just jump that back off. And all that information can be provided to those end users. And as we grow as an organization, iplicit, in terms of volume, our automation center allows us to automate anything within the finance, or as much of the finance, should I say, as we can. So if I took a look at our automations are designed to suck up that growth. So whether it's my month-end accruals, whether it's my depreciation for our inbuilt fixed asset register, whether it's disbursements, whether it's deferred revenue, whether it's income recognition, intercompany transactions, foreign exchange gains and losses, all of that information is configurable through the automation center. So it means at month end, we can tie things down tightly. The finance team isn't locked up working out manually these sort of calculations. The finance system can take that. And that's overseen by all of iplicit's workflow. So we think control is really important. And again, especially as you grow as an organization, that control is evidenced through our configurable workflows. So we've got workflows around procurement, around setting up new customers and suppliers, around bank accounts, changing budgets, approving payment runs, all of that within the system, all supported in iplicit. And also, if I've got it up still, with our mobile device as well. So iplicit is available through Android and iOS devices as well. So again, those stakeholders can get access to information. They can get access to authorizations. They can check that new customer. They can complete that budget approval. They can drill into that same sort of information, whether or not I'm in the office. I might be sat waiting for the coffee machine to finish percolating, but I've still got the ability to drill down into those transactions to be able to take that information and see the invoices, for example. And because we've got inbuilt document management, I might even want to see a copy of an invoice while I'm waiting for the kettle to boil. And that also includes, I'm finishing now, our published accounts, our dashboards, all live on any device. That's the beauty of having a nice-based, intelligent cloud system to support your growth. I've run out of time. So I'm going to stop now.
Valuable whistle-stop tour, though, right? Awesome. So, thank you, Guy, for running through that. What we now wanted to do was offer an opportunity to. Let me just share my screen again. Can you see my presentation again, guys?
Yeah, we've got it now.
Perfect. So yeah, it would be really good to welcome any questions you've got, both for myself and Guy, but also for Narinder in terms of his experience of using iplicit across the board. So as I said, please use that question functionality within your kind of GoToWebinar block. But we've also already got one question in here. So whilst people type in their questions, Narinder, what was your experience of implementation, and what sort of guidance would you give to people that are kind of considering implementing a finance system like iplicit?
Yeah, sure. So I suppose implementation with any product can always be quite scary. Ultimately, one thing that I suppose accountants or finance directors always worry about is once they go live, what happens? Ultimately, with iplicit, they made it very, very smooth. In terms of migrating across from our previous software, which was Sage 50, into iplicit, we had preset templates to tell us what and where we would like our data to go into. But the beauty thing about iplicit for us was we were able to use a sandbox. Now, for those who don't know what a sandbox is an environment where ultimately you can play around in it as if it's your live data. But actually, it's a demo database where you can make mistakes, you can test the product to its full benefit without actually affecting any of your live environment. And for us, that was absolutely crucial. One thing that we love to do is on-the-job training, because we think that that's the best way of working. So when I had my accountants or my payroll guys creating invoices, or my accountants again doing their journals, ultimately the one thing that they were fearful of is making a mistake. In the sandbox environment, they were allowed to play with the product, play with it in its detail, use it, understand the mistakes that they've made, rectify them so that they wouldn't be able to make those in the live database. And it gave us at the same time the fluidity to go at the same speed that we wanted to go at, but also to use our incumbent software for then another data upload. The consultants themselves were very, very helpful. No question was a silly question, which we gathered, and ultimately we were always supported by our consultants. Even if they demoed something and we were unsure on it, ultimately they would come back to us and support us through, show us live demos on how to do everything. So the implementation from iplicit was brilliant. To give a bit of an insight, it took us circa around about 2 months in all to move across our data from Sage into iplicit. But then once we were on iplicit, everybody got the hang of it very, very well. And I go back to the quote at the start of it. The finance team says it's the best thing that we ever brought in, purely because it has saved mammoths of time for every single department within our business. It used to take our payroll guys days to create invoices because it was all manual through Sage. With iplicit and the ability to be able to upload spreadsheets of your data into it, ultimately it can create our invoices into a batch and again send those batches out quite immediately.
Perfect. I mean,
Excellent.
couldn't say it better ourselves, could we? Any other questions? I know we've covered a lot of ground, and I know Narinder's kind of spoken about a lot, so it might not leave a huge number of open-ended questions anyway, but is there any questions from anyone else in the audience that they would like to ask, I suppose Narinder mainly, of his experience? I'll leave a second or two to see if we do. No worries. So in that case, and I appreciate we've overrun as well, so I appreciate everyone's time, but thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully that that session's been really valuable for everybody. And yeah, please feel free to email myself or Guy. We know we've got some contact details that will be sent out as part of this as well. Contact us if you've got any questions on anything that's been discussed today. And yeah, we look forward to speaking to you again soon. But thank you, Narinder, for your time. Thank you, Guy. And thank you, everyone, for joining today.
Well, thank you.
Bye, everyone. See you on the next one.
Cheers.